bringing our infinite higher human expanding consciousness enlightenment community together between 5D mystics and functional adults, it's always a pleasure. And so let me start with a couple of quotes. If you operate out of the straitjacket of logic, you remain a clown in the circus of life, said Guru. Effectively, if you do not move into an integrated brain and you're only optimizing the use of your left brain mode, you are in fact half optimized, quote unquote, because our right mode is what deals with the nonverbal, the emotional, and actually allows us to sit in the unknown, which is where that inner growth mindset supports people, since we navigate duality with neutrality and explore the thoughts and the sensations together. And on that note, Mindsight with Daniel Siegel, very great course, interpersonal neurobiology, but just learning about. So what is Mindsight? It's even better than mindfulness. Mindfulness is where you sit in that silence, you've rhythmically breathed, so you've brought your nervous system to an E state. You're using your cortex and you're navigating, if you want, a space of thought. If not, you're just sitting and learning how to sit with that. The cortex is important because that's where you take in information, and then if you are at ease in a ventral vagal state, so that social engagement, mammalian heritage of ours, so a green, which means relaxed, the container view is heaven in your body. And that's where that alignment with the physical, energy, mental, holding your values and your heart body, that is where the 5D mystic is at, or a person who's in that enlightenment soul age group as a functional adult. We only use love language, so our community comes together with people who have direct communication. And in fact, on that note, let me keep reading. We use left and right, so we move into integrated brains easily, the love cycle people. And for those who come out of a shame cycle, inner critic, outer critic, and having compulsive addictive behaviors, that are those areas where you will deny, so you numb, you suppress because the trauma memory comes up. And trauma memory is stored in the tissues, in the muscles, in the bones. I'll read a quote after from Bessel van der Kolk. So the aspects of what comes up, it's handled if you're handling your right mode, because that's where it comes up. Otherwise, there's structural dissociation, which I've personally experienced, not me, but interacted with a situation, as well as with people who have also dissociated, which happens more often than not. One example Daniel Siegel gave in one of my courses was how if you're driving along the highway and you think of your trip to Hawaii and you miss your exit because you're fantasticizing about, and he doesn't use that word, I'm using it, but you're imagining, oh, my lovely trip to Hawaii, so you miss your exit. That's dissociation. There's other types as well, and that one looks like, so when somebody's in a dorsal vagal, here's where my 5D mystics will notice, because I notice when somebody's offline, but then the fact that they're not offline, because they're like, no, I hear you. So they're not there. There's like a little bubble around them. Their eyes are glazed over, and the person is in a dorsal vagal shutdown. So people who will have had not the opportunity as infants to learn how to regulate in their ventral vagal state, they go from hypersympathetic arousal, fight, flight, to dorsal vagal. They only know on and off in hyper and hypo, essentially on like a big charge, fight, flight, or off, no energy. And that's where that little, I do this because it's like a bubble around them. Again, a person who's participant and aware is like, wait, are they there? Because you almost feel like they're, like if they're a person napping. It's almost like you got a brain there, but they're napping. The brain's offline, but they're not offline. It's actually the nervous system that's offline, because that's how the body of the person, the human being who's an adult, they're functioning, they're hearing you. It's their nervous system that's in a dorsal vagal. And so I learned in my trauma educational certificate program and programs, more than one, different schools. I can give you the list, but here's where you learn how to recognize what you already had perceived. Mystics, 5D, not 4D. 4D, they talk about energy vampires. Those don't exist. Those are poor human beings who, so addictive behaviors, sex, drugs, alcohol, food, clean eating can be one. Anything that is in an excessive and compulsive, so you use it to de-stress, and it becomes something that doesn't add to your energy body and it doesn't add to your life, but you notice that you're always doing it. This is where it's your relationship to the situation. It's your relationship to the substance. Your relationship is the part of the adult that can say, wait a minute, I do notice that this thing that I'm doing doesn't really bring me an inner well-being or an outer well-being. And then again, I'm doing it in a way that brings self-soothing. So if you pay enough attention to your body and know a little basic of the psychoeducation, which I always share, then you can understand navigating your nervous system, which is how you start to basically navigate your energy body and know that rumination, the monkey brain, that's where you're using only your left, not left and right. You're just thinking hero, villain, and then rescue and potentially no rescue. And here's where people think suffering is a must. It's not. That's temporal junction, where you're relating to an experience from the past in the emotion, and your brain, in fact, is alert. It's not fully locked and loaded, so you're not in mindfulness and you're not in mindsight. You're not exploring the thoughts and the sensations. With mindsight, you explore images, sensations, thoughts, feelings, and obviously, though, your container, so your nervous system, is the first place that needs to be at ease. Rhythmically breathing helps to put you at ease, but so does how you start using your words. So if you don't have the inner growth mindset, and you got a monkey mindset or a doll mindset or a butterfly mindset or a one-siphoned mindset or a I'm in love with myself mindset, you're not going to be out of the Maya land, so you're not going to be out of adaptive child emotional, and that would be the harsh, unforgiving adaptive child who the mind goes rigid and chaos. The chaos is not chaos per se, it's the sensations that come up. So the activities that suppress the sensations keep people in their insecure attachment styles or their insecure attachment categories, two different schools of thought and research for attachment. When you look at the attachment categories, the adult attachment interview and or the strange situation where the child is left alone. Ideally, the child, when the parent comes back, they run to the parent to check in because that's their lifeline, and then they go run off and play again. So they have a safe haven, secure base. Individuals who are functional adults and those who are in their lovely Enlightenment soul age group with integrated brains, restored embodied selves, we are always in a state of compassion. So we don't shame, blame, fault. We don't react to those who do revenge, envy, spite, jealousy, and there's plenty of those stories that we will have shared. What we know is going on is a person in front of us, or however many, are in what is called not only a shame, defective, heartbreak, gut-wrench body. So they're in a hell body with potentially dysregulated or modulated embodied experience. Their brain is also in an adaptive child emotional response. It's gone rigid, and then it's moved into structural dissociation because the left is online, but whatever's going on in the right is not, they're not paying attention. So they're being rude, nasty, whatever it is they're doing in the moment. Emotional triggers, when somebody's gotten all pissy because I'm not on the same page with them. Perfect example. In fact, one of the ones I'll never forget, I simply asked a question. Person began to get all agitated and started calling me stupid and all of people like me, and I'm like, wow, that went from a nice conversation to what is this? Okay, let me learn how to. No, I didn't need to learn. I just diffused it because I said something's up. The poor person, they're all upset. So intelligent ones wonder. This is Sadhguru. Idiots are dead sure. Yes, any adaptive child is not looking for a conversation. They're looking to prove they're right. Or if they think they're wrong, then they're going to try and prove they're right. It's a very uncomfortable and unpleasant, intellectually speaking, conversation for those of us who like to socialize. Because our family is not a training ground. It's a playground to rise beyond our likes and dislikes to become grown-ups. Sadhguru again, but he says training ground. Functional adults, Enlightenment soul age group, mystics, 5D land, we love our loved ones, our entire oversoul. In fact, we already know whether you call it a stone, a tree, an animal, a man, a demon, or divine, everything is the same energy manifesting itself in a million different ways. So we know this. Our relationship with the field of consciousness is really amazing. Love means being willing to nurture another life beyond opinions and prejudice. This too, functional adult. And here's where, when you can feel your body as the container, then the emotions, this is Peter Levine, and the sensations do not feel as overwhelming. They're being contained. This is important to be able and achieve that integrated brain. Trauma victims cannot recover until they become familiar with and befriend the sensations in their bodies. Bessel van der Kolk. And this is why it's important to have Zen masters, compassionate adults, to speak to people who want to move into their restorative embodied self and their actual adult self. So be loving to each other and know that everybody is on a journey. Compassion is the way, not shaming or blaming or faulting, nowhere near the other stuff. So